Right now, my mother-in-law is probably standing in her pristine kitchen, staring at 3 completely raw, unseasoned turkeys sitting on her counter. My husband has called me 47 times in the last hour. I haven't answered a single one. Instead, I'm watching my toddler build a lopsided sandcastle on a beach in Florida, the kind of white, powdery sand that gets into everything and nobody cares. It's 11:30 in the morning on Thanksgiving. Back at that house, 40 hungry guests are supposed to be arriving in exactly 30 minutes. And for the first time in 6 years, I am absolutely refusing to save them. I should probably explain how I got here. Because 3 weeks ago, if you told me I'd be sitting on a beach chair with a margarita sweating rings onto the armrest while my mother-in-law's entire world burned down without me, I would have laughed. Not because it was funny, because the old me, the me from 3 weeks ago, would have already been on a plane back home to fix it. That's who I used to be, the fixer, the one who smoothed things over so nobody had to feel uncomfortable except me. For 6 years, every single major holiday looked the same. I'd wake up before sunrise, drive to whatever store was open, and spend money I didn't really have on food for people who didn't really like me. I'd stand in Diane's kitchen. That's my mother-in-law, Diane, a woman who irons her napkins for 8, sometimes 10 hours straight, while she floated through the living room refilling wine glasses and accepting compliments on her cooking. Compliments for a turkey I'd basted, a gravy I'd reduced for 40 minutes because she wanted it restaurant thick, a pie crust I'd made from scratch at midnight because store-bought wasn't good enough for her friends. I never got the compliments. I got the corrections. Too much rosemary, not enough salt. My mother used to do it this way, dear, she'd say, hovering over my shoulder like a food critic auditing a restaurant she was about to shut down. And every single time when I'd finally collapse into bed at 11 at night with grease still under my fingernails, I'd turn to my husband, Mark, and ask him, beg him, really, to just once tell his mother that I needed help, that I needed a break, that maybe, just maybe, we could split the cost of 6 months' worth of groceries dumped into one weekend. And every single time, I got the same 4 words back, delivered in that flat, tired voice men use when they've already decided your feelings are an inconvenience. It's just one meal, babe. Sometimes he'd dress it up. She's older, just let her have this. Or my personal favorite, just do it to keep the peace. As if peace were something I was withholding. As if the war was mine to end. And not something his mother declared on me every single November like clockwork. I used to think if I just worked hard enough, if the turkey came out golden enough, if the house smelled like cinnamon and sage exactly the way Diane liked, that eventually they'd let me in. That eventually Mark would look across that dinner table, see how hard I was trying, and finally choose me over the version of peace that only ever cost me something. I was wrong, I know that now, but 3 weeks ago I still believed it. Which is exactly why when Diane texted me a photo of a handwritten list, a list with the header Thanksgiving menu, formal, 40 guests, please confirm quantities ASAP, my first instinct wasn't anger. It was panic, and then God help me, it was obedience. I sat in my car in the school pickup line and scrolled through it. 2 turkeys wasn't enough, apparently not for 40 people in Diane's standards, so she'd written 3. Prime rib as a backup protein in case the Hendersons don't eat poultry. A raw bar, 4 different pies homemade, none of that Costco garbage, Emily, people will notice. Fresh flowers for 6 tables. Linen napkins, ironed obviously. A dessert table that looked like it belonged in a wedding magazine. I did the math twice because I didn't trust the first number. $812. That was before wine, before the flowers, before the little decorative gourds she wanted artfully scattered down the center of every table. $812, and not once in that entire text thread, did Diane ask if I could afford it. She didn't ask if I had the time off work. She didn't ask if I wanted to host 40 of her friends in her own house while she took the credit for a meal she wouldn't lift a finger to prepare. She just wrote, "Let me know if you have questions. So excited for this year, I've told everyone it's going to be the best one yet, turkey red." I called Mark on my lunch break. I don't think I've ever heard my own voice sound that thin. She wants 3 turkeys, Mark, 3, for 40 people. That's over $800 we don't have right now, and she expects me to cook all of it alone in her kitchen starting at 5 in the morning. There was a pause. I could hear him chewing something on the other end, some sandwich from the break room, completely unbothered. Okay, so tell her you can't do 3 turkeys, do 2. That's not the point. The point is she didn't ask me, she told me. And where is this money supposed to come from? We haven't even paid off the credit card from her birthday dinner. Another pause, longer this time. And then, quieter, like he was hoping I wouldn't hear the annoyance underneath it. Can we not do this right now? I'm at work. It's one meal, just figure it out. You always figure it out. You always figure it out. I sat with that sentence for a long time after we hung up, because he was right. I always did figure it out. I figured out how to stretch a paycheck. I figured out how to smile through Diane's backhanded compliments about my store-bought ambition compared to her homemade perfection. I figured out how to shrink myself smaller and smaller every single year so that nobody in that family would ever have a reason to be inconvenienced by me. I drove to the grocery store that afternoon with the list open on my phone, and I started putting things in the cart out of pure muscle memory. Cranberries. Butter, 4 pounds of it. A 22-pound turkey, then a second one. Then I stood in front of the third one for almost a full minute before I picked it up too, because what else was I supposed to do, disappoint her? Embarrass Mark, be the daughter-in-law who finally said no. I got to the checkout line with a cart so full it wouldn't sit straight, and something in my chest just cracked. Not loudly, quietly. Like a hairline fracture you don't notice until you put weight on it. I left the cart in the aisle. I walked out to my car in the parking lot, sat down behind the wheel, and I cried the kind of crying that doesn't make noise. The kind where you just sit there and shake and stare at the steering wheel and wonder how exactly you became someone's unpaid, unappreciated staff in your own marriage. I was still sitting there, mascara running, phone forgotten in the cup holder when it buzzed. A text from Aunt Linda. And that text, that one, completely unremarkable text from a woman who talks too much and never knows when to stop, was about to change absolutely everything. I wiped my face with the back of my hand before I even opened the text, some old reflex telling me to look composed even when nobody was watching. Aunt Linda, hey hun, quick cue, are you guys raising the price again this year? Bill about had a heart attack when I told him lol. Just want to make sure I bring cash for Diane like last time. I read it 3 times. Each time, the words rearranged themselves into something that made less and less sense. Raising the price, bring cash for Diane like last time. I typed back with fingers that weren't quite steady. Sorry Linda, what price? I don't think I know what you mean. The 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Linda has never in her life waited more than 4 seconds to respond to anything. Oh, the hosting fee, hun. Diane's done it for years now, the $50 a head thing for the premium spread. She said it helps cover the caterers since it's gotten so fancy. I just didn't want to show up short again, huh? I sat in that parking lot and read it a 4th time. $50 a head, 40 guests. I did the math before I even wanted to. $2,000. Diane was collecting $2,000 from her own family and friends to attend a Thanksgiving dinner that I was going to spend $812 of my own money to cook myself, alone, for free, while she told everyone she'd hired premium caterers. There wasn't a single caterer, there had never been a caterer, there was me, there had only ever been me. I don't know how long I sat there, long enough that my phone screen dimmed twice. I wasn't crying anymore. That's the strange part I still can't quite explain to people when I tell this story, the tears just stop. Like someone had reached into my chest and turned a valve. Something colder took their place, something very quiet and very clear. I texted Linda back, casual as anything. Oh duh, yes, same as last time, just bring the usual, can't wait to see you turkey. Then I sat there for a minute longer, staring at my own reflection in the dark car window, and I started doing the kind of math I'd never let myself do before. Not grocery math. Not how do I stretch this paycheck math. Diane had been running a business out of Thanksgiving dinner. For years, probably. And Mark, I made myself think it slowly, made myself actually sit in it instead of flinching away like I always did. Mark had to know. He was her son. He handled her investments. Helped her file taxes every spring at that same kitchen table where I basted turkeys until midnight. There was no version of this where he didn't know. I thought about the text that had popped up on his phone 2 weeks earlier, the one I'd glanced at and immediately talked myself out of caring about. Make sure she gets the expensive steaks, the Smiths expect a premium spread. I'd read that and thought, how odd, and then I'd folded a load of laundry and forgotten about it, because that's what I always did. I found the splinter and then I talked myself into believing it wasn't really there. It had been there. It had been there the entire time. I got out of the car. I walked back into that grocery store and I finished the shopping list Diane sent me down to the letter. 3 turkeys, the prime rib, the raw bar. Everything exactly as specified, exactly as much money as she demanded I spend. But this time I did it with a small, strange smile on my face that a stranger in the produce section actually commented on. "Somebody's excited for Thanksgiving," she said, and I just said, "You have no idea," and kept moving. Because here's the thing about being the fixer, the peacekeeper, the one who always figures it out. Nobody ever considers what happens the day you stop trying to fix it and start planning instead, to simply not be there when it breaks. The next 4 days were the strangest performance of my life. Diane sent me smug little check-in texts. "Don't forget, the good tablecloths are in the hallway closet. And make sure the potatoes are the Yukon Gold, not the red ones, Emily, people notice." And I responded to every single one with cheerful little thumbs-ups and of course. Like a woman who had absolutely no idea her mother-in-law was running a covert catering scam using her labor as the product. Mark noticed nothing. Mark never notices anything that isn't directly inconveniencing him. He asked me twice in passing if I was doing okay with the Thanksgiving stuff, and both times I told him I had it handled, which was true, just not in the way he assumed. At night after he fell asleep, and he always fell asleep fast, the sleep of a man with nothing on his conscience because he'd never once let anything sit there long enough to weigh on it. I sat in the closet with the door cracked, the light from my phone the only thing illuminating my face, and I booked 2 one-way tickets to Fort Myers. My parents had a condo down there they used maybe 6 weeks out of the year. I texted my mom one line, "Can Sophie and I come stay for a bit starting Wednesday night?" And she called me within 90 seconds, and I told her everything, and she didn't say "I told you so," not once. She just said, "Bring your bathing suit, baby. We'll figure the rest out down here." I packed slowly over 3 nights, 1 drawer at a time, so nothing would look different if Mark happened to glance in the closet. Sophie's favorite stuffed rabbit, her little sun hat, my one good sundress, the yellow one Mark said made me look like I was trying too hard, the last time I wore it 3 summers ago to a dinner with his college friends. Wednesday night, I told Mark I was taking Sophie to my sister's for a sleepover, so we're not underfoot while you help your mom with last-minute stuff tomorrow. He didn't even look up from the TV. "Cool, have fun," he said, and that was the entire conversation. 6 years of marriage, and that was the level of curiosity my absence on the biggest holiday of the year inspired in him. I drove to a hotel near the airport instead. Sophie slept in the bed next to me, her little chest rising and falling, completely unaware that her mother had just quietly detonated something that had been building for 6 years. But I wasn't finished, not yet. Thursday morning at 4:15, I let myself back into the house one last time. The house was silent except for the low, steady sound of Mark snoring upstairs, the same sound I'd fallen asleep to for 6 years and would never have to fall asleep to again after tomorrow. Though I didn't fully let myself think that thought yet, not directly, not in full sentences. I carried the grocery bags in from my trunk one by one. 3 raw turkeys, still ice cold and slick in their plastic, 22 pounds each, exactly as ordered. The prime rib untouched, wrapped in butcher paper. Bags of unpeeled potatoes, unwashed greens still gritty with dirt. The raw bar still in its foam cooler, shrimp slowly losing their chill. I laid it all out across Diane's pristine kitchen island, because we had a key to her house too, of course we did. "Family always has a key," she'd said like it was a gift and not a leash, arranging it almost gently, almost respectfully. Everything she asked for, nothing prepared, not one onion diced, not one bird seasoned. Not a single thing that would turn $800 of raw groceries into the best Thanksgiving yet. She'd promised 40 paying guests. I stood there for a moment in the dark, quiet kitchen looking at it. 6 years of holidays in this room. 6 years of her voice over my shoulder, correcting my rosemary. I didn't leave a note. I'd considered it, some cutting, satisfying line that would let her know exactly what I knew and exactly why I'd left. But I decided against it. Let her wonder. Let her spend the whole morning wondering, right up until the moment I decided she didn't get to wonder anymore. I locked the front door behind me, the deadbolt clicking into place with a sound so quiet it startled me anyway. And I walked back out to my car in the cold, dark driveway, my suitcase already loaded in the trunk, my daughter asleep in a hotel room 10 minutes away, and a flight leaving in 5 hours. For the first time in 6 years, I didn't check my phone for a single text from Diane before I turned the key in the ignition. The flight landed at 8:47 in the morning, and by the time my mom pulled up to the curb in her old Buick with the windows down and the radio playing something from the 80s, I felt lighter than I had in years. Not happy exactly. Not yet. Just quiet, like a room after someone finally stops shouting in it. Sophie fell asleep in the car seat before we even hit the highway, worn out from the flight, her little rabbit tucked under her chin. My mom glanced at me in the rearview mirror a few times but didn't ask questions. She just reached back at one point and squeezed my knee, the way she used to when I was small and scared of thunderstorms, and said, "You did the right thing, baby." And I had to look out the window for a minute so she wouldn't see my face. We got to the condo a little before 10. The air smelled like salt and sunscreen and cut grass, nothing like the cold, dry, expectation-heavy air of Diane's kitchen. My dad had already set up an umbrella and 2 beach chairs on the sand out back, like he'd known, somehow, that this was exactly what I'd need before I even asked for it. By 10:30, Sophie was awake again and shrieking with laughter, chasing seagulls across the wet sand in her little swimsuit. And I was sitting in a beach chair with my toes buried in warm sand, and a mimosa my mother had put in my hand without asking if I wanted one. I put my phone face down in the cup holder of the chair. Not off, just face down. I wasn't hiding from it. I think, if I'm honest, some small part of me wanted to watch it happen. Wanted proof. At 11:04 it buzzed for the first time. "Mark, hey, Mom's asking when you're getting here. Gravy needs to start soon, lol." I looked at it, felt absolutely nothing, and put the phone back down. At 11:19, seriously, where are you guys? People are gonna start showing up soon. At 11:31, the tone shifted. I could feel it shift even through the screen, that particular flavor of panic men get when a woman's absence starts costing them something instead of just something. "Mark, Emily, this isn't funny. Call me back right now." At 11:38, a missed call, then another 30 seconds later, then a third. I sat up in my chair and watched my daughter build a lopsided sandcastle, patting wet sand into a tower that kept collapsing sideways, laughing every single time it did, completely undisturbed by the fact that 40 miles away, or 400, whatever it was now, an entire holiday was quietly detonating without her mother in the kitchen to hold it together. At 11:52, my mom is freaking out. There's 3 raw turkeys on the counter and nothing else is prepped, and people are literally pulling into the driveway. What is going on? Where are you? I ordered another mimosa. At 12:04, the first phone call came in that I actually watched ring all the way through. Her name, Diane Marchetti. Saved years ago under Mark's mom, read back, when I still thought a heart emoji next to her name might eventually mean something, lighting up my screen while I sipped a drink that tasted like orange juice and freedom. I let it ring out. At 12:11, a voicemail transcript populated on my lock screen, choppy and auto-generated, but clear enough. Something completely unacceptable, something after everything I've done for you, something my guests are here, Emily, where are you? At 12:19, the text stopped being questions and started being demands, the kind of all caps, exclamation point heavy paragraphs I'd spent 6 years learning to decode and soothe and manage. "We have 40 people here. The SMITHS just walked in. This is humiliating. Call me back right now or so help me." I read every single one. I want to be honest about that, because I think people imagine this moment as some triumphant blur where you don't even look at the phone, but I looked at every word. I just didn't feel the old reflex anymore, that old electric jolt of I need to fix this, I need to smooth this over, I need to make everyone comfortable again even if it costs me everything. The jolt just wasn't there. It was like reaching for a phantom limb. At 12:30, 47 missed calls sat stacked on my lock screen, and I watched my daughter run full speed into the surf, screaming with delight as a small wave knocked her sideways into the sand. And I thought this right here, is what a holiday is supposed to feel like. I finished my mimosa. I sat for a minute, letting the sun sit warm and heavy on my shoulders, and then I picked the phone up one last time. I didn't call Diane. I didn't call Mark. I typed one text, sent it to both of them in the same family group chain Diane had made 3 years ago called Marchetti Thanksgiving Planning Turkey, the same thread she'd used to bark orders at me every November since. Hi everyone, Emily here. I won't be cooking Thanksgiving this year or any year after this one. I hope the raw turkeys work out for the $50 a head premium catering fee Diane's been quietly charging you all for years while I paid for and cooked everything myself for free. Ask her about that. Ask Mark too, he's known the whole time. Sophie and I are safe, we're happy, and we're not coming back to that house. Enjoy your dinner. I hit send before I could talk myself out of a single word of it. Then I turned my phone all the way off. Not silent, not do not disturb off. I set it down on the little side table under the umbrella, picked Sophie up out of the surf. Both of us dripping and laughing, and we walked down the beach together, her hand small and warm in mine. The ocean stretching out flat and endless and blue in front of us. And for the first time in 6 years, nobody needed anything from me at all. I found out the rest of it later in pieces, the way you always do. Aunt Linda called my mother's landline 2 days later because of course she did, and relayed the whole thing breathlessly. How the Smiths had demanded their $50 back the second they read that text over Diane's shoulder. How half the guests left within the hour, plates still empty, coats still on. How Diane had stood in her own kitchen sobbing, insisting it wasn't a scam, it was a hosting fee. While Bill from next door loudly asked why a hosting fee needed to go into a personal Venmo account instead of, say, an actual caterer. How Mark had tried to smooth it over and got nowhere, because for 6 years he'd built his entire identity around not having to smooth anything over. And it turns out that's not a skill you can just conjure the one day you actually need it. I filed for divorce 3 weeks later. Mark actually cried, and told me I'd embarrassed the whole family and could have just talked to him. I thought about that sentence for a long time. 6 years of trying to talk to him. 6 years of it's just one meal, babe. I didn't need to say any of that out loud anymore. I'd already said everything I needed to say in one text in a group chain called Marchetti Thanksgiving Planning, and I have never once regretted a single word of it. Sophie and I still go to Florida every Thanksgiving now. My parents cook. Nobody corrects my seasoning. Nobody hands me a bill. Last year, my mom let Sophie help make the pie crust, flour absolutely everywhere. And my daughter looked so proud of herself, I thought my chest might actually split open with how much I loved her. We ate at 4 in the afternoon, all of us together, at a table nobody had to pay $50 to sit at. It was, without question, the best Thanksgiving of my life.